as you said, this is only the beginning. We have just made, and we'll really look forward to your continued, whenever you find time, at 1 o'clock or maybe next time at 1 o'clock next time morning. I don't know how many hours you work, but whenever you find time also, please keep on visiting, and we'll get this feedback which we'll use to improve and expand the contents of the site. Because I'll request Mr. Chetan Manya to talk to us and guide us on
this is what I call a social service on the part of this young professional group of Malini and Ajit for the benefit of all of us, and I think I'll be able to establish it rather clearly from what I have to say. As far as I'm concerned, I'm here as much, and I plead ignorance, I plead callousness, and I plead negligence on my part, and therefore I have no right to even speak here. Because if my family members saw me here, they said this is the greatest abuse you can ever make. So I'm not going to generally be on technical on wills, but let's say, what do we see? Here is a man and a person who are out to render social services, and Dr. Sen has told us what are the other things that are required, and everyone has talked about the financial aspect. But the operative words of this meeting are personal financial planning. The undistributed middle is for gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, the august members of the profession of chartered accountants, and not misfits in society like me. But then we come to the concept of personal and planning. With utmost respect, the life that we lead, and particularly in Bombay, where everyone thinks that everything should be done yesterday morning, and every client has a divine right of kings to do that. We have totally forgotten the line between personal life and business life. I think we sold our souls, and I go to my organization, you go to your organization, and that fine line is being totally obliterated, which is not allowed to be so. When you go to London, an English solicitor doesn't give you his personal number. He doesn't take you to his chamber unless you tell him. He takes you into a conference room. Now what has happened is, here there is such a rat race, and without in any way exposing myself to attacks of defamation, the whole aspect is win at all costs, forget the ways, forget the means, and I shouldn't say so, but even the professions are getting rather debased, and this is partly due to the I must win, dog-eat-dog tendency, if I may say, which comes from the transatlantic group of business schools. I think I have said it without mincing my words. And I am a conservative man, and I hope that I'm not going to allow that to happen to my youth. So this is what has happened. You lost your personal life. You want to, young people work till 10 and 11 in the night. Fair enough, everyone has to work. You're burning yourself out at 40. Then you plateau out, and then you get into fits of desperation, depression, etc. So this personal life has to be kept at least slightly clear, and it should not be totally flooded by my office. So therefore, that is the concept of personal. Then this concept of technology. Technology is totally important. Personal life has to give way to technology. But I would say that technology is absolutely necessary for this country. And why is it that we've stayed back and why we don't have it? And even this personal planning, I would have had more time to spend on myself. Maybe my personal income would have been better. If 50 years ago, we had not been blasted by socialism, which was a great policy, but with utmost respect, it was for the politicians who wanted to perpetrate and perpetuate their power and their ego at the cost of others. Gandhiji had said that everyone should be paid well, but some of the others didn't like it, because then, unless you can exploit a human being, you cannot get the better of it. So we had this socialism and we've been kept back for 50 years. And this concept of personal planning, this macro aspect has also affected my life. After that, we had this, in the same concept, blast of taxation, because we're talking about taxation. And today what is the problem? Why are the families going down? Because of unaccounted wealth. Why have I talked about this in personal planning? Because sometimes in my wealth tax return, in my income tax return, in my will, I may not want to say everything that I have. I would be lucky if I was in that category, but then I'm not. I have everything and I'm prepared to declare it. So we have had this psychological factor because the Calder Commission said you can have an income tax, wealth tax, gift tax, estate duty and death duty, and we had carpet bombing and we took everything. And now the only thing that an average Indian looking for is tax avoidance and tax evasion. So this is the cause. Now we have to plan. But in order to plan, it must be a purported method, a scheme drawn up beforehand, an arrangement of purpose, and for which there must be an intention. You know, we talk about the word plan in the dictionary. The word, it followed the planchet. We are going from planning down to earth ideas of what I should do so that my life and family and I have or hope to have a retirement. And then the next word is planchet. The planchet is the antithesis of all this. You're conveying with the medium to get answers from spirituality. No amount of spirituality or religion can in any way substitute for clear planning. And I don't think any religion, except people who want to dupe you, say that religion doesn't mean planning. So that is the second thing. There must be proper planning, and that is we come to the word will. I want something. William Shakespeare is also known as Will. But the will is, in some parts of India, the verb becomes birth. It becomes a bill. Yeah, you got to pay a bill to make a will. But what I'm saying is, you must have the ability to decide that I want to make a will. But unless, even in that there's a psychological factor. The moment you think of will, oh my God, you think you're in the geriatric department of the hospital. You think you're going to home for the aged. And you think of insecurity. But I think if these three words should really spur you on to making a will. Now, that means you have to overcome the inertia and find out what is a will. A will is defined as the power of faculty to choose and determine. You must not allow yourself to drift. And the will is, to come to the legal aspect of the will is a just sentence of our will touching what we would have done after our death. A will and testament are the same thing, because you know, most people say, what is a will? Last will and testament. A will is a disposition of property to take effect after the death of the testator. So there is another psychological factor which will immunes you, it protects you from scorn, hatred, revenge. A person who is looking forward to getting a gift from you or a bequest. After me the deluge, I may leave it to him or I may leave it to SPCA. And as far as I am concerned, it is totally ambulatory. A will has to speak from my death. I think of it in my armchair, and therefore what happens to me afterwards, sticks and stones hurt my bones. So if this is the attitude you take, and you feel that I am not getting old and I must plan, you can certainly make a will, and at any age, because I think that, again Shakespeare, life which is the death which is a necessary and must come when it will come, and you never know when it comes. So it is the legal declaration of the intention as to the disposition you want to make afterwards. A will vests, if you vest someone with an interest in even a rupee or a legacy, tangible, movable, whatever it is, by a will today, it doesn't work. It can only speak from the death. So that is the next point. And I want to say that as far as people who are interested in what book weaknesses there. The Indian Succession Act 1925 contains the law on succession, both intestate and testate, and chapter part 6 is testamentary succession, section 57 to 191. What do I mean by testamentary succession? By my own will, I say that this is how I want my assets to be disposed of. If I do not take the trouble to do so, or if I feel A, that I'm not going to die, I'm going to be eternal. 2, I suffer from indecision. Or third, I have too much love for the human beings, the milk of human kindness. These 3 weaknesses will not enable me to make a will. I will dilly-dally and be exactly as Indians have been for the last 100 years and will continue to be so. So, why should I make a will? The moment you have a certain degree of sadism, a certain degree of ruthlessness, I'm looking at a very different aspect of life. You'd want to make a will, because if you don't make a will, what happens? Under the Hindu Succession Act, if you die intestate, there are 12 preferential heirs: son, daughter, mother, widow, son of a predecessor, son, so and so, so and so. You have no choice. You did not take the trouble, rightly, wrongly, or God forbid, your life was cut short much before the time you should make a will. Then it is providence, and it was destined to be so. Let's not, these things happen. But otherwise, you have taken the trouble, you have worked hard, you slogged, you burned the midnight oil. Then you don't want it that your own daughter, your son, your widow, some other people in the alternative who have been close and near to you, friends. Frankly, sometimes a quadruped and a four-legged friend can be exceedingly more loyal. That's why the SPCA. When you have a right to do something, why don't you do it? And I certainly believe that leaving it intestate means the inability to think or desire. Or, as one very senior doctor in Bombay says in Gujarati, a person who is a relative is not necessarily dear. The only thing I can think of is the dear departed, a very well known, and some dear departed would be better than dears living. So that is why a will should be made. You can make as many wills as you like. You can change a will every morning and every sunset by codicils. And it doesn't take effect till you die. And that is why you will never ever be in a position where you would not view the day when, my God, I gifted away everything. Inflation has overcome me. Open heart surgeries have overcome me. Medical bills have overcome me. And loneliness has overcome me. At that time, when you have to take money and ask others, you hand it the receiver's hand. And that is one of the saddest days in your life. You rue the day. So therefore, don't make a gift. Don't be in a position where you're totally destitute. And then, as Lord Norton said in CIT versus Principles, I don't want to go to the principles of charity or relief, education, medical benefits, and any other thing for the ameliorator of society. I don't want to be in that category of CIT versus Principles. I want something that I should do for myself. And there is nothing to prevent me from doing that, because if it is only going to speak from my death, fair enough, the next person must get it. But in the meantime, I cannot be trod over or ridden roughshod over by people who are close and near to me for various ulterior motives. I'm not bitter by nature, but as a solicitor, and if I'm talking frankly, I think we should be objective. So, this is the reason. The risk factors, inflation and all that, realism, assessment of human beings, and then you have to make a will. Now when you come to a will, I can tell you, a will or any document, drafting a will can be poetry or it can be very bad. If you like conveyancing and you like drafting, if you do it point by point, you'll get it extremely well. And I would say that I'm not going to the technicalities of drafting, but there are basic things you must know before which you cannot even think of making a will. You must be in a disposable state of mind. You must lock yourself away from people. You must insulate yourself from various good, bad and indifferent influences of people who have those influences of you for good reasons or the other. What really means is, this will should be made by me in my disposable state of mind, not under coercion, undue influence, if I may use the term fraud or anything. Therefore, it's not that I should do it for myself, but if I allow myself to be persuaded or doing something with someone else who is going to feel aggrieved afterwards, then you are creating trouble for people you have left legacies to, and people who you think they should have got legacies. So you must be in a disposable state of mind. Anyone can make a will. Even an insane man can make a will during a lucid interval. I do not know how many of us have lucid intervals in life. But even in that lucid interval, I can make my will. Then we should make a will. Then you should have a will which is drafted properly, in proper language. We'll come to some time. And then the most important thing, to avoid trouble, have a doctor if necessary for an senior person. Have a friend and make sure that you comply with the provisions of section 63 and 67. A last will and testament has to be attested by two witnesses, signed and acknowledged by the within named XYZ in the presence of us both, who in the presence of each other and in his presence have hereunto set our hands as witnesses, who in his presence and in the presence of each other have hereunto said. Now technically it's not necessary, but that is the way to do it. So the attestation should be proper. And now there are some misconceptions of attestation. A, you can be an executor, and B, an attesting witness. Now everyone likes to become an executor. These are very nice names, but I can assure you, you should stay far and clear away if you feel, unless you have the ability and you're a robust man who can bring to book and control human nature. When you think there is a slight schism in the family, avoid it. Some people try to think, they think they're going to achieve something, get a medal. You'll never get a medal. So that is, you can be an executor can himself be an attesting witness, but an attesting witness cannot get any benefits. And those benefits would be void, but the will would be good. He would have the pleasure of attesting the will, but all that he gets in the will doesn't come, and it would go into intestacy. So first we've got to make a will, you've got to appoint your executors, then the question of witnesses, and don't make it in such a way that you really intend it, that it will be best in life. And then don't push it too far, because this girl is 18, at 21 what would happen, and what would her in-laws say, and at 35 say. The law of perpetuity applies. Life and lives of those living in 18 years thereafter. So don't push the vesting beyond the law of perpetuity. This is a highly technical thing, but you must keep in mind. Try and do it that everything goes bad as it is to such other people, to my child or children living at my death, or ventre sa mère. That's a French word which means a child in the womb of a mother would also be entitled to that. Now we come to the most important part of the will, because if there is immobile property, you may have to get a probate. A probate is nothing but a certified copy of a will, as certified by a court of competent jurisdiction, which has given you the probate for the administration of the estate. So don't get frightened by the word. You have to pay duties. But I can tell you what has happened, and it has happened regularly, that if a will is not made properly, when a probate, you make an application for probate, you have to cite is X heir, Y heir, and all the people mentioned, and such of your heirs on intestacy also. And then, if anything happens and he feels aggrieved, or if you are under influence of one, or some a ward boy, a nurse, someone in hospital, someone who has a hold on you, and at a certain age people can get a hold on you, someone would feel aggrieved, and then it will become an administration suit. You know, the backlog of litigation in India is so good, we are so brilliant, that there was a will made in 1915, administration suit 1916. My father passed his solicitor's exam in 1919, just after the First World War, a few days ago. I passed my LLB exam in November 1960, and the administration suit was finally disposed of in 1960, only 45 years. Even today, nothing happens in 20 years, and if you want to stretch out litigation, except for the debt recovery council, anything can make 25 years. So if you want to prevent people from cursing you under their breath or loudly articulating what you have done, make sure that your will is well written and very clearly set out. If not, you will be encouraging litigation. And I don't want to say it. You know who the beneficiaries of litigation are. Not solicitors, only counsel. Yes, should not smile altogether. So, these are the aspects. And because we Indians are compulsory litigations, whole world, zamindari litigation. If not, the racecourse wouldn't have money. Racecourse and casinos don't have money without attorneys. And therefore, but for this litigation, and particularly agrarian society, there would not have been fragmentized agrarian holdings below the minimum economic size. And there would not have been acquisitions and takeovers of family businesses. Now, a few points. These are generally, and as I said, I'll just articulate some of the few points which are necessary. A, it is to my desire, the way I want to dispose it of. I have a right to revoke it every morning, but please note that even my estate, the way I want to dispose it of, is subject to the right of the creditors, because my estate, except when it's a personal contract, I was supposed to paint, do a painting or write a piece of poem. That doesn't devolve on my heirs, but all my liabilities and duties and debts definitely do so. So that is one thing you must keep in mind of what I will. Secondly, it is not only a disposition of estate, it could also be that I want executors. Some man may feel that he married late, minority of his children, minorities of his grandchildren. Then under a will, you can also provide for guardians, subject how the Guardianship Act and the Hindu guardianship law. Then there could be certain only declarations and of the right I have of appointment. But please note, all this that I do is also subject to the rights of others. There may be the right of a widow, there may be the right of an unborn child, there may be the right of someone under Hindu law. All those are overriding factors or equities which automatically affect your will. Then a brilliant proposition was made by no less than certain very senior members of the Supreme Court of India. But when I read what I am telling you, you know what I mean. An attempted disposition cannot be enforced as a declaration of trust. Forget that. The revocable nature of a will cannot be lost, even by a declaration that it is irrevocable, or by a covenant or contract not to revoke it. After revocation, you can make as many wills. I am telling you, a very senior person in the profession, in the Supreme Court, has said that right in the will, that this will is irrevocable. Concept of revocation of will is basic. I didn't need it. But that morning, I had not picked up Holsbury, but if not, I would have been able to quote to the senior lordship that that which was being done was not equitable or fair. Will can be written in any form. A soldier, sailor, anyone can make a will, but the more lucid and clear you make it, the better it is. Don't make a conditional will. You can, that I am going on a voyage, I am going to Mansarovar. If I come back, this will be void. In certain cases, it would be considered to be a conditional will and be accepted as such. But in certain cases, that condition may be. So therefore, you were wanted to have given it to C, D and E. You have given it to A, B's name with the ulterior desire that A, B and may behave themselves or not behave themselves. That I want to give it to C, D and E. Don't make conditional wills. But if you do, make it very clear that it's for a specific voyage. You know, people used to go out on ventures, voyages, seafaring, and under those circumstances, conditional wills will be made. But don't make a conditional will. You can also make a mutual will, the husband in favor of the wife and the wife in favor of the husband, and I think that is very good. I leave everything to my wife, fading which to so and so, so and so, so and so, and fading which can be both ways. Now, come down to the basic, the little skeleton of the will. I revoke all my former wills, codicils and testamentary dispositions. I appoint so and so as my executors, who and the executors are trustees of this my will. Then you come to all your duties, all your legacies, which are of a tangible, movable nature, jewelry, antiques, heirlooms, whatever you have, valuable books. Now here again, this concept of jewelry, ladies never write it. They have a little piece of paper stuck somewhere, and that is, you don't say anything, no one says it. And that also comes from certain fiscal policies of the government. Then you come to the tangible movables, then you come to the tangible immovables, properties, tenancy rights, buildings, inheritances. Then you come to the pecuniary benefits. Pecuniary benefits should be clearly begin with the paragraph that I hereby give the following bequeath so and so, free from all duties or subject to all duties. Then in certain cases, and the more religious people, and rightly so, the first question in a solicitor's exam is what is the first or usual clause in a Hindu or a Parsi will, and you say all my obsequial ceremonies up to and including the first anniversary of my death are Mukhtar. Even that is fair, and the manner in which you want to dispose of your body. Then you come to the pecuniary ones. Then you come to the so and so, to my two children, equally, provided that if either of them predeceases me, then to whom, then leaving children at my death, then it goes by first office, and then you can go into charity or whatever. Then there is a provision for the residuary estate. Because if you don't provide for a residuary estate, again you fall back into the trough of uncertainty of intestacy. So you have a total one for all my estates whatsoever, wheresoever situate, which is not been looked after earlier, becomes your residuary estate. Then you say that there may be a certain amount of money which is supposed to go to a child or children. Then you can provide for acceleration and say that my trustees can also provide that out of an X amount that I left for my children or grandchildren or for their education, a certain amount or whatever can be advanced to them for their education. There's no point in going to, these are the general principles, but let's come back to the very basis of planning, and I can tell you one last reason which I want to give is this. Most of the shares that I had bought or someone had bought are very beautiful wallpaper. They make excellent wallpaper just now. And the word NBFC, these letters are bad words in the English language. but non-banking finance companies, plantation companies, and all that happened from 91 to 94. And where directly or indirectly you are mesmerized by George Mesker, by who are known as specified persons in the scam. I think that has left us all very bitter. And I think we come to debt instruments and security. And as Ajit Bhai said, last on the top is the risk factor. And above all, let us not be ambitious, let us be down to earth, let us do what we think with courage. And you need to have much courage to make a will. Don't be too good, not too much love, not too much indecision, not too much ambition. And if we do this, I think we should make a will. The earlier the better. And thank you all for the opportunity that has been given to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chetan bhai. I think if such kind of advice someone comes to your chamber, I don't know whether you said in London that they don't take to the chamber, but if they come to your office, I'm sure the bills will run into those very, very detailed and quite, and I think most of us, we don't know about legal implications. So it was very, very educative. And I think first time we all really knew a little bit or heard about how to make a visa. Friends, I would request this website we have made with basically the concept and content was, I had some ideas, but basically it has been done with the help of two of my colleagues. I would like both of you to please acknowledge him. I would request Dhaval Kokhani. Dhaval, can you please stand up? Dhaval is a brilliant chartered accountant. He was earlier working with Citibank and he has excellent taxation and finance background. And another we have truly a whiz kid. I think he's less than 20, but Gyanchand is an internet and Java expert. Gyanchand has really been instrumental in getting this site together. Okay friends, just last 2 minutes I'll request Rajesh, can you please offer a floral greetings and memento to our guest speaker, Dr. Sen. Can I request Gyanchand to please present floral greetings to Chetan bhai? Simply something you'd love to go through it, something on personal finance planning. Okay, friends. And yeah, I think it's a very interactive, beautiful program with Peter Lynch. So he comes live on your screen and you can talk to him and he will talk to you on at your residence, at your office, wherever you are. It's a very beautiful program which is really important, which we got it from US. So I think it's basically, just to share the same theme which we are talking about. Okay, sir. Friends, I think I'm really grateful for all of you to have come here, and I'll request Dhaval to please propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Sen, respected Sri Chetan Bhai Maniar. It's been a wonderful time that we've had in the last 1.5 hours or so. It's been very empowering, and the views, the suggestions of Dr. Sen, Chetan Bhai's talk on the bill is encouraging to all of us, especially maybe not to me right now, but I'm sure to lots of the senior people, right, amongst all of us. But never too late to start. And it's been a memorable occasion for us. Today has been a very memorable occasion for all of us, and we thank you for being a part of the occasion. We thank all of you all for coming here, for spending so much of your time, and we are very, very, very glad and happy that you all could make it and join us for this occasion. Thank you very much, my friends.
Kindly, please please join us for tea. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Oh, you what?
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
नहीं नहीं
Please, no, please, can't. Now, Gayatri took Keshi the eldest, but he's the middle. And now Gayatri is what is both of them.
Took the same.
$2,000.